This is a vlog of this build. So I cleaned up one edge on the jointer. That gave me a straight edge to reference to draw a line and cut on, so then I could have two parallel sides, or in theory. Here I just set the depth, and then I could make my cut. You can see at the top front edge of that, I've got a bit of a rough spot. I don't know what I was thinking, but anyways, there it is there. And then after I finished milling, came out like that. Not much to it, and it has a neat look kind of when I'm done the final product. Then I went over and I decided to use the track saw to make all the cuts on this. I was using the track saw for, I think, all the cuts. I did a little bandsaw. So those were the two sides I cut first, and now I'm going to do the top and the bottom. I had to set up a little jig with one of the other pieces. Then I used the Leigh dovetail jig to make the box joints. Makes pretty quick work of it. These ended up being not loose, but not as tight as I wanted, but I was happy with it, I'd say. And the person wanted a rustic-y look. They said they sort of had a shabby chic style in their mind. So there wasn't really a noticeable space, but it still looked good. Needed to stain and then light sand off the fuzz for the inside. Then I glued it up and then sand off the proud edges. I planed it down to a 12.5 mil, so it's about a 1/2 inch that I'm working with for the material. You can see that spot, that rough spot, and how it looks. And when I get close, I mean, those box joints are pretty good. Here I am. I needed to make some small pieces, one for a back panel, so I made 2 of them, and one for some offcuts to use for holding the picture frame and the back panel in. So I put them in. I used another little offcut there as a spacer, about 1/8 of an inch. That's how thin they were on the bandsaw. And then I used little clamps to get a rough spot, cleaned it up, and then re-clamped it after I took the glue off. Just sanding down the other little panel I made, giving it a light stain. The one side didn't get sanded as well, but that's going to be the inside. Trying to decide now the thickness that I need to offset or make my cut for the door, or where the hinge is going to go, whatever you want to call it. And again, I said I was using a track saw for this. I don't have a table saw. Because of the width of this box, this wasn't a problem, but if it was a smaller box, it would be tricky. And this still was tricky. There's a little attachment you can get to make this process easier, to clamp the rail. Maybe something I'll look into. We'll see. Regardless, this came out really nice. Probably as good as a table saw would have. Just I had to be very careful every time I put the saw onto the track. Now I'm marking off the spot for the hinges. And then I'm going to use a router to recess them. This worked really well. Definitely would do it again. I did make a mistake though, you're about to see. I didn't have the right size drill when I was pre-drilling, and the holes are too big. I found a way to get by, but it was annoying. Here I'm tracing out the glass to cut. I ended up not doing a good job and broke that piece of glass. I used the hot glue gun and basically transferred the hinges onto the top, traced out the spot to route, and did it. Filled in the recesses with some stain, and then I didn't pre-drill all the way down, just a little bit to help get the screw started, and then I screwed it in. So I learned from my mistake on the base instead of the door. And then I could put it on, but I used crazy glue. Put it into the holes for the screws and then onto the actual spot for the hinge to rest. And I was nervous at first because it didn't sit or set immediately, but 5 seconds later it was set, and now it's pretty strong. Next I had to line up the spot for the latch, and I just pushed it in softwood. I'm using pine here. And then hammered it in. When I got near the end, I used the spring punch, which was pretty nice. I was worried it was going to ding it up, but it did a good job. Remember I broke the glass? Well, I decided to use plexiglass. I had some and it's pretty cheap. And I used the track saw to cut it, just turned the speed way down and made my cuts using a template from the back panel that I transferred to the paper. Just a couple quick cuts and it was done. Nice clean edges. I was really happy with that. Then I put it in. You can see the little clips I use to apply pressure to the pitcher so it doesn't droop and it sits nice when it's done. I use the mat from the original frame. Tighten those up. Let's see. Good. And that looked good at the end. I was pretty annoyed though we didn't have a good pitcher for the final product, but I hope she enjoys it.